Okay, so we're halfway in Siman Mem Beis Sif Gimel. So we said yesterday that if you designate a bag, a sudah, some sort of handkerchief to put your tefillin in, and v'tzar beit tefillin, and you actually wrap your tefillin in it, even one time, also lametz bozuzi, you can't start using it for other things, unless, says the Ramah, you make a t'nai mitchila. That's what we said yesterday. Now we're moving on to a similar related topic. We're halfway through the Ramah. Klaf hama'ubad l'shem tefillin. Klaf, parchment, which has been processed for the purpose of tefillin, i.e. to use to write tefillin, l'shem tefillin. Also lichtov olav divrei chol. Once you have processed the klaf to use it for tefillin, you can't start writing for mundane things, your accounts, or you want to just make some notes or whatever. You can't do that. Why? The hazmona ki hagavna leguf hagdusha. Because when you do the hazmona, when you designate the klaf for this holy purpose to write tefillin, milsahi, that's considered milsa. We said yesterday that hazmona is not enough, so we made a difference. The difference is this: when you do the hazmona for the ibud, you've actually done something actively. You've put it in the bowl with the sid, and you actually prepared it actively. So that hazmona is more effective, and therefore that is already chal, and that designates. Okay, so again, it's a klaf ha'ibud l'shem tefillin, klaf which is mu'ubad l'shem tefillin, also lichtov olav divrei chol. You can't use it for divrei chol. The hazmona ki hagavna leguf hagdusha is milsahi. Okay, let's do the Mishnah Berurah on that. Sif Katan Yud Ches, L'Shem Tefillin. Hainu, HaParshas Shel Tefillin, i.e., you designate your ma'abed, the klaf, for the writing the tefillin. V'hu adin hama'ubed la'batim, and not just for the tefillin, but also if you take the the leather, and you process it for the batim, to make batim shel rosh or shel yad, v'after in chok kol aval shin, even though you haven't got the shin on it, mikol mokum guf kedusha mikri, it's called guf kedusha, and therefore you can't change its use or use it for a mundane purpose. And certainly which has been processed for a sefer Torah or for a mezuzah. Interestingly, if you look at note 25, he says, that's why we said previously in Siman Lamed Beis, when you actually put the leather into the sid, into the lime, to make it into proper parchment, it's proper for a person to say, I am processing, I'm tanning these leathers, these hides, l'shem kedusha sefer Torah, and I'm making a t'nai that if I want to change them, I can change it. That's why it's good to say that, because without such a t'nai, you're limited to only use it for that. Okay, so we're continuing the Mishnah Berurah, Sif Katan Yud Ches, that if you ma'abed it l'shem tefillin, you cannot use it for divrei chol. Says the Mishnah Berurah, but to write, for example, a mezuzah shekdushasa kalam tefillin, which is the level of kedusha is lower than tefillin, or just to write, your shir notes or chidushim or whatever, muta, that would be allowed. Afilu al shenis abed sefer Torah, even which has been processed for a sefer Torah, it would be allowed to use it for other lower level of kedusha, even just mezuzah or even just to write chidushay Torah. That's already considered not a bizayin. It's already considered somewhat kodesh, and therefore it's okay. For get, have a dover shel chol, but to write a get, that's considered dover shel chol. And you cannot therefore write a get on parchment which has been me'ubed l'sefer Torah unless you stipulate it beforehand. Okay, then the Mishnah Berurah says the hazmona ki agavna leguf hagdusha, because the hazmona here counts. Says the Mishnah Berurah, chof ki agavna shu alidei ma'aser gomur. That's what I was saying before. The difference is here you're being ma'abed the leather with a ma'aser gomer. You're putting it into a bowl with sid, with lime, and therefore you're actively processing it. As opposed to where you just see a Tesco bag, you think, hey, I'll use my tefillin, I'll put my tefillin in that. Or you're just masaking the klaf somewhat, and you do a sirtut, and you score it, you underline it, lishma. Says in the Mishnah Berurah, leguf sif katan chaf aleph, la'afuke hazmona l'tashmishay kedusha. that excludes hazmana l'tashmishe kedusha. For example, kagoin asiyas kislet tefillin. If you make a kislet tefillin, if you do not the actual kedusha itself, but a tashmish for kedusha. For example, the tefillin bag, or ibud retzuas, or even leather. You're processing the leather for the retzuas. She'orak tashmishe kedusha. The retzuas are considered tashmishe kedusha. To mutar l'shanoisa afil l'chol. That would be allowed even l'chol to use that after the ibud for a more chol, more mundane purpose. That once you've processed the earlier retzuas, l'chatchila, you should keep them for the retzuas and not just use them for a handbag or anything else. Hakdusha, because we said that the processing this leather is for guf hakdusha. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Chof Beis, ava hazmona leguf ha-mitzvah. When you're making something for a mitzvah, not for kedusha, kagayin, tzitzis, shofar, lulav, sukkah, ner Chanukah, these are all considered mitzvahs as opposed to dvarash v'kedusha. Afilu osan lekach le mitzri. They're a lower level. And even if you prepare something for this purpose, that doesn't become osa. The hazmon the lav milsi. For hazmon is not considered significant. So for example, if you prepared some string for the tefillin, for the tzitzis, or you prepared, your sukkah, some walls for the sukkah, and you change your mind and you want to use it for something else, that's okay. Because that's just hazmona for a dovish of a mitzvah, and hazmona for a dovish of a mitzvah is a lower level. Here we're talking tefillin is dovish of kedusha, so therefore it's more significant. V'ayin le'el b'simen chof aleph lekaman simen kuf nedalet sheyesh oid nafkamina ben kedusha lemitzvah. There's also a big other nafkamina between kedusha and mitzvah. Now, what is that big other nafkamina? So if you look at number 31, he says it. Tahainu shele'inyan guf ha-mitzvah. The difference is this: when it comes to mitzvahs, for example, sukkah and tzitzis and things like that, once you finish with it, you can actually dispose of it. We take our schach and we put it in the green bin, right? Okay, you put it in a bag, it shouldn't be derech mizoyin, but you can dispose of it. But when it comes to dovish b'kedusha, then you after it's worn, you need gniza. You can't just take your tefillin and put them in the green bin. That needs gniza. That's the big difference between kedusha and mitzvah. Okay, let's finish off. So we're now at the mechaba at the end of this simon. Azamne v'lo tzarbe. If a person prepared the klaf and he didn't, wrong. Azamne, we're talking about the kiss of the tefillin. We're talking about a bag. So if he designated a bag, he comes down one morning, he's got his tefillin loose on the table, and he wants to take them in a bag to bring them to shul. So he says, I'll use this bag, this carry bag or this box or whatever, I'll use that for my tefillin. So azamne v'lo tzarbe, but he doesn't actually put them in, he doesn't wrap the tefillin in this handkerchief or whatever it is. Or tzarbe v'lo azamne, he wraps them but he doesn't designate it. Shari lameitze bozuzi, then you're allowed to put coins in it. Says the Mishnah Berurah. There's one Mishnah Berurah on the last bit which I haven't done. Miss Milsi. Let's just finish off that Mishnah Berurah first. So we said because the ibud leguf hakdusha is Milsi. There hazmona does count. After Besif Aleph says in the Mishnah Berurah, Kaimelon demuta l'shanes hashel rosh l'harida mikdusha asay. Even though we said in Sif Aleph that you're allowed to take the shel rosh and to reduce it mikdusha asay mitam da hazmona lav Milsi. If you haven't yet worn it, we said, after Shom hu guf hakdusha, even though that's guf hakdusha, so it's got a good kasha. How come when it comes to the parchment, there hazmona is milsi, and previously we said at the beginning of the simon that if you have designated this bias, the shel rosh, you can actually now use it for a shel yad, even though you're downgrading. So what's the difference? So he says, shani hosam dal kol ponim oisavam kedusha ktas. You're using it for some kedusha, for example, a shel yad. Here, you want to use the parchment for a dovachol to make a shopping list. And there, the hazmona beguf hakdusha helps. There are those who are more lenient and say even for a dovish kedusha, hazmona is nothing. But in practice, we say the hazmona with the guf hamaisa for the ibud is significant. However, a t'nai does help. Miu im hischel lichtov ala klaf. if he began to write on the klaf Sefer Torah Mezuzah, Aisha Kisvei Kodesh, he began writing something, Afil on Anaya, even on a piece of paper, Osa Lichte Vachkach Divrei Chol L'Kula Alma. Once you've started, you've actually written something on it, then that's considered the designation, and then you can't now use that klaf for anything else. How much do you have to write for it to be also? So if you look in number 32, it says, Rabbi Yashav, afilu b'ksiva ois achas, even one letter. Even one letter, that's already dedicated it for this higher purpose. Okay, now we're going the Mishnah Berurah on that last bit of the Ramah, of the Mechaba. Azamne v'lo tzarbe, or tzarbe v'lo azamne. If he either designated it but didn't use it, or used it, he wrapped his tefillin in this handkerchief, but he didn't designate the handkerchief, shari lemeitze bol zuzah, then you're allowed to put zuzim, coins, and use other things for it. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Chaf Dalet, tzar, pirush, lefisha. Yeah, that means sabe, a one-off time. The gam bestomans, and also too with some. I feel him also came pam harbe. Even if he used it many times, afshe bechol pam hoya lefisha derech ara. Even though each time was a one-off, you come down and say, "Oh, I'll use that bag to carry my tefillin." Lo niskadish al yedei zeh. It hasn't become holy through this. Avalim tzaba b'kfiyas. But if you constantly use this bag, you repeatedly use this bag, or even if you use it once, but you do so with the intention of using it regularly with this bag, that you're constantly going to wrap your tefillin with this handkerchief, even if you never designated initially, then it still becomes osa to use it for anything else. Because that's like you were mazmin it, you designated it, and you used it. Once you've done that, there's no going back. If, however, you used it with a tanai, that when you finish with it, you're going to use it for other, you'll use it as a shopping bag once again, that then it would be allowed, so long as you haven't properly made it a kishal tefillin, like you decorated it, you wrote tefillin on it or something like that. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you never designated it in order to use it for tefillin. Shari, what does that mean, Shari? That you can now, that the suda has not become elevated, it hasn't become kodesh, that you've used it one time without hazmana. But once, okay, so fine. So you never use. So for example, let's say you have a bag, you have a Tesco bag, and you come downstairs and you've got your tefillin on the table, and you think, oh, I'll take my tefillin, I'll put it in this bag. So you haven't designated that bag permanently for tefillin. You can use it later to do your shopping. That's what we're saying. It's a one-off, right? So long as you haven't designated this bag. However, at that morning, when you put your tefillin in the bag, can I put my other things in the bag? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Avul kolzman shat tefillin sham, for the time when the tefillin are actually there, ein miderech hakovod laniach yachad sham gam mois. It's not appropriate to put other things, money or whatever it may be, in that bag. And the yikshrim b'keshev b'fnei atzmai. You do another knot, or you put it in a different bag or something like that. Okay, so just to summarize some of these halachas, what have we said? That if you designate something, and then it's got a status of tefillin bag, so then you can't use it for other things. And the tefillin bag itself, if you've got a small bag just for the tefillin, you should not put other things in there. So even things like a mirror for the tefillin, even coins and things like that, or the voucher books, even though it's these are coins perhaps for stocker, but something the tefillin is on a high level. But if you've got a talus bag and you've got the talus in there, and you want to put the voucher book in the talus bag part of it, and that's separate, you've got your own designated tefillin bag, then that would be beseder. And certainly in the tick tefillin, the things, then you've got its own little compartments and its own little zips where you've got special pockets for voucher books or for the tefillin, the mirrors and things like that, that would be okay. Beseder. Okay, we'll leave it there. So